had fake candidates run for office in 2020.
JJR should still be in the state Senate right now.
100%.
That was an absolute crime. And, you know, I think what it really speaks to, I think this is a great transition. It's what I would call the Manchin effect, because the difference between the GOP and the Democratic Party is that when it comes to the GOP, even though there is sort of this, there is a changing of the guard in the GOP right now, everyone still gets in line for McConnell and whatever his agenda is. Nobody in the Democratic Party gets in line for Chuck Schumer. It is basically right now whatever Joe Manchin wants or whatever Kyrsten Sinema wants. And so I think that speaks to the bigger issue of there's not a very strong bench when it comes to the Democratic Party. The GOP has that on lock. When it comes to the school boards, when it comes to the state house, city commissions, all that stuff, they really have an amazingly strong bench. Jasmine, if you don't know, we were angling for this lovely lady to run for governor, but it's probably not the time.
No, it isn't. It isn't the time.
So,
it isn't. It's smart. It isn't, and it's smart. And I like we've talked about this.
And the reason I bring it up is because you're definitely two individuals who are definitely doing amazing work. And I have no doubt that there has been temptation that has been thrown at you. Anna, come on, run against Darren Soto, run against Stephanie Murphy, blah, 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 blah. And the reality is there are too many people that, and again, I respect anybody who wants to run for office as they should. It is a monumental task to do at any level. But there's also a lot of people who run for offices that they know they have no chance of winning. And the opportunity to get more people into the state legislatures is so vital. It is so vital because you see the things that end up happening. And at the end of the day, there really isn't anything that as an individual you can get done on Capitol Hill. But at the state level, you can have a tremendous impact in terms of the opportunity to build those coalitions that you need to get more involved at the local level. And if you guys can talk about that, I think that is immensely important in terms of what we can do to build that bench going forward.
No, I think you're absolutely right. And Anna, you really hit the nail on the head. I just actually signed I sent off a quote in support of a Better Democrats PAC that is launching here in the state of Texas, because the quorum break made it evident that not all Democrats are created equal, right? Like people don't necessarily pay attention to our voting record. The average person doesn't go and look and see, oh, how did this person vote or how did that person vote? But when we were on the national stage, it became obvious that not everyone had the wherewithal to do what was necessary to stay in this fight. And so some people were like, well, why do we need them? Why do we need them if they're about to go and help the Republicans? Have they been helping the Republicans? Like, people had all these questions, like all these grassroots organizations. And they were like, hey, will you support this PAC? I was like, absolutely. I was like, because even when you're screening people, even if we're talking about an open seat, we need to make sure that like our foundational deals, that they are like all in, because, we deal with situations where the way that I describe it as when we sign up to be public servants, we don't know whether or not we're going to see combat or not. It's like when you sign up for the draft, you don't know if you're actually going to go to war or not. But we need to make sure that when it's time to go to war, you are there and you are willing to fight to the end, not run back. Okay. Like, we need you to do everything. So I say that to say that that's one of our issues, is that we've not been recruiting Democrats. We've not been training Democrats. We kind of say, oh, somebody signed up, we'll support them. And it's pretty much that. And like when there's primaries, everybody's like, well, let's stay out of the primaries. Let's try to make it as nice as possible. Let's just not, tarnish anything. Democrats shouldn't bash Democrats. But honestly, we don't bash anybody, right? Like, we've been getting our heads bashed in by the Republicans. And then we just say, hey, stop bashing my head in, right? Like, we don't say, oh, I'm gonna bash you back, which is what we need to do, which is what we did when we walked out. And so that's what we've got, like in Sinema and Manchin. They don't feel the heat because Democrats don't bring the heat, right? Like, they don't say, we are going to take you out. We put you in, as my mama would say, I brought you in, I take you out. We put you in, I'll take you out. And that honestly needs to be the attitude, especially on things that are foundational. We are not talking about what I would consider to be like far left issues. we are talking about fundamental constitutional issues, right? Like we're talking about the right to vote, that so many of them say, oh, it's not a right. That's more so a privilege. That's why, you know, if you want to go buy liquor and you need an ID, then why is it different? Well, guess what? Not everybody's entitled to buy liquor, right? Like it's just maddening. But we've got to reform how we have worked through our party in general. Number one, we need to make sure that we're training up people. Number two, we need to make sure that it's not just the glamour that everybody is seeking, right? Because yeah, everybody wants to be a federal whomever, right? No one wants to be on the school board. A few people want to be on city council. Like we really have to provide like a foundation and a pipeline. And so often, at least in my area, our elected officials, they get into office and they don't leave.
Yes. Ours play like musical chairs. They go from the legislator to the city council to they rotate around.
Anna knows this. We have a very big problem, particularly in Broward, because it's not just Wasserman Schultz. It's everybody. It's basically a rotating of the last generation. It's about 30 years.
But Jasmine said something that I wanted to talk about. And Anna, I believe we talked about this last time you were on, is that it always appears to me that Republicans are always going and doing what they want, and Democrats spend their entire existence playing defense. Democrats are constantly defending their legislation, and we've been doing this all along. And and I do believe that we have dropped the ball in regards to judicial appointments in a lot of cases around the country, and that goes for the Democrats big time. I don't think Obama fought hard enough regarding judicial appointments. Like I think a lot of those issues, and now we're seeing the repercussions of this. We're going to be feeling this for a long time. But Democrats only live to play defense, you know. And I think that we need to switch that. We need to be on the offense, and you know, we have the general public's behind us. That's the majority of people are behind the issues that we're talking about. We just don't have state houses because we dropped the ball for a long time. Right. That's the truth.
Well, and I want to echo a point that Jasmine made that I'm just like over here snapping and like super endorsing, because you brought up the point that we're not talking about progressives versus moderates when it comes to the state legislature. It's not the same type of debate, to be honest. We're talking about very basic constitutional rights and basic democratic values. Again, like these are not issues that are very debatable in our spaces. Like, you know, we can have the debate about corporate influence. That's I think where you see more like progressive versus moderates, right? Because you have the Dems that are like very out loud and saying corporate influence, like what I do. I don't take money from these corporations. Like I challenge the theme parks, I challenge sugar, I challenge utility companies. Not everyone is comfortable doing that. And you see it break down on the vote board. Like on the big sugar bill this past year, only 7 of us voted no on it, right? So you have those fights, and those fights are very real. But what we're talking about is it's not the same spectrum. Like it's literally people that are just, they're not moderates, they're Republicans. Like, and it's like, you know what? Then go register Republican. Like, stop pretending, right? And I would rather you be honest. But the reality is that in my case, in Florida, they represent Democratic seats. We know they're not going to win if they put an R next to their name. So anyway, I want to just echo that point. But then to harp your question, Jen, I mean, I totally agree with y'all on the notion of building a bench, on the notion of helping folks realize the importance of local seats and local opportunities. I will say there is an access issue here because, first of all, a lot of folks just are not plugged in. You know, a lot of folks don't know about a state legislature. They don't know about a city or council or a county commission. But it's also the financial barriers, to be honest, right? Because I'm not sure what it's like in Texas, but y'all have
$600 a month, sister, $600 a month.
It's unbelievable. So you have to have another source of income to do public service. And in the case of us, part-time legislature, our annual salary is $28,000. And we're in session every year for 60 days, not counting committee weeks. So either you come from wealth, you're retired, so you have a pension, or you're working another job like I am to try to actually serve. So we automatically lock people out of service, and that's a problem. So what are the solutions? I mean, obviously there's policy solutions here. We can We can pay city council members, what the cost of the job is, right? But any type of politician who puts up for a vote a salary increase is probably not going to survive, right? Because that's not a politically smart topic unless you explain it to people. They don't understand. But at the same time, as Democrats, as those in the ecosphere, are we creating job opportunities for lawmakers to have a career in service while also having a role at an advocacy organization, nonprofit organization? Because that's what Republicans do. All these law firms hire Republicans. They don't have any cases. They're not doing anything at that law firm. But the law firm pays them to basically be influencers for them and their clients, right? And so what can we do to create spaces where folks in the movement space can also have a job in the movement space, but also be a public servant? Of course, there has to be a very clear line of separation, right? However that could look. But at the end of the day, we're not thinking about sustainability either. And I think one reason why folks leave the legislature is honestly they can't survive. They're like, I have bills to pay. I feel like I'm not getting anything done, but running for Congress, I would have a better salary. I would have more access to resources. So sometimes it is, yes, it can be an ego-driven decision, but sometimes it's also a decision based on logistics, right? And the decision that many people, especially people of color and women make, is financial. I can't run for office because I can't afford it. I can't even afford to be a candidate. And that is a disservice to democracy. And it's an area where Democrats really struggle because we don't support our people enough. So I think that's another part of the conversation. The last thing I'll say is, yeah, we got to be fighting. Like Jasmine said, we cannot be squishy. We have to be really on the offense, proactive in our ideas, and stick together. I mean, Jasmine, I was so pissed when the quorum standoff was broken, but I have to tell you, it reminded me of a fight we had in the Florida legislature over the deplatforming bill. So Florida passed a bill basically because Trump wanted it, right? To punish social media companies. And don't get me wrong, I have so much criticism of big tech and, want to break up the monopolies and so forth. But this bill
we have one of those bills as well.
My God, a complete joke, right? So this bill had two parts. It had the policy bill and the public records exemption. The public records exemption actually requires 2/3 to support it. So the policy bill is just 50+1, but the PRE bill requires 2/3. So we debated for hours. The policy bill passes. And then usually the public records exemption is a no-brainer. People don't debate it. It's dry, it's just attached to the bill. So it goes up for a vote. There is no debate and it fails. And it was such this heroic moment for all of us because we're did we just kill a bill? Did we just kill a bill in the Florida House? And so because they're the majority party, after they freaked out because they were what just happened? Because everything's a script for them, right? Everything's expected. They bring the bill back up for reconsideration and they got a Democrat to vote with them. So I share that story because we know what that's when and especially when it counts the most, your colleagues do not have your back. And though our caucus has gotten smaller, we actually have gotten stronger in Florida because many of those folks lost their elections and for a good reason. So that's one, point I'll end on is that we need to be more united. We need to be more strategic. We need to focus on our values. And and at the very least, our caucus, though smaller, has gotten stronger.
Thanks for watching. If you want to support our mission to transform politics into service, please like this video, subscribe, follow us on social media, and consider joining our Patreon, where you'll get early access to our interviews as well as other exclusive content. Links are in the description. Peace out.